Hey everyone, happy Friday. Hopefully, we're coming through okay here to chat about how to market your practice in multiple states. Let me just make sure we're coming through strong. If you are here live and can see me, will you just like this video or let me know in the comments that you're seeing me okay? I would hate to get through all this and no one. All right, looks like we're coming through okay. Excellent. Okay, I put out a question this week about topics that you wanted to see this week's marketing training on and got so many good ideas. I have a big long list to get through. But the one that we're focusing on today is marketing in multiple states. It's interesting at the pre-COVID, if you think back to that, it was pretty rare that clinicians would get licensed in multiple states just because online therapy wasn't quite as prevalent. And these days, it's almost more likely than not that you run into a clinician who either has or is considering a licensure in multiple states, be it because your clients move, you just want to increase your client base, whatever that is. So that's what we're going to be getting into today. I want to offer some really practical tips that you can put into action in your marketing if this is a direction that you're headed, and also just a way to be thinking about your marketing. I mentioned in sort of the summary of this event that for a lot of clinicians it's like, great, I'm doubling the number of potential clients out there, right? And unfortunately it's not quite that simple. So I really want to give you some useful ways to think about your marketing to make sure that you're not spinning your wheels and that getting licensed in multiple states doesn't just end up being a frustration or an obstacle to your success. So that's what we're diving into today. If it's your first time joining me, as usual, I always say hello because this group is just growing like gangbusters. We have over almost 100 new faces just this week. So hi, I'm Anna. You're in this group hopefully because you're dedicated to growing your private practice, and I'm dedicated to helping you do that. Everything that we talk about here is about helping you grow your practice in a way that isn't just effective, because I believe that you should be paid your full fee and get booked out doing the work that you love to do, but it's also really authentic to who you are as a clinician, what makes you unique, and what it is that you offer. I know that marketing sometimes can feel, or at least have some implications that feel a little bit like slimy or salesy. We're big into authentic marketing here and making sure that anything you do to grow your practice is in alignment with who you are as a clinician and the great work that you do. So thank you very much for being here. Let's get in now to marketing in multiple states. Looks like we have a couple people joining me live. As you are watching, I welcome your comments and your questions. I would be happy to answer anything that you're thinking about when it comes to marketing in multiple states. If you're catching the replay, drop a hashtag replay and any questions you may have. I'm always happy to revisit these. Sometimes, I have videos in here that are years old that I still answer questions on. So please don't hesitate whenever you are watching this video if you have a question you'd like to drop into the comments. Now, one thing I really, really want to make sure we're all understanding when it comes to marketing in multiple states is that it's not rocket science, okay? This is about your marketing in general. However you're going to get therapy clients is about replicating strategies that already work. I don't want you having to feel like if you're going to get licensed in multiple states, you have to launch this massive marketing campaign or doing all of these brand new marketing ideas. Everything we do in this group and what I've seen work with my clients is, quite frankly, very, very at its most basic, a very fundamental process that you can replicate somewhere else. Now, the core building blocks of a marketing plan and a marketing strategy for building a therapy practice. If you have seen and you've been in this community for a while, you're familiar with the private practice marketing pyramid. So let's just review that pyramid real quick as we get into marketing in multiple states. So at the foundation of your pyramid is a profitable niche. If we don't have that, we're going to really struggle to build the rest of your marketing structure on top of it. So that's the very basic thing. Now then at the base of our pyramid is a strategic SEO-friendly website. Your website, when done correctly, when done well, has the potential to bring in clients all on its own, when done correctly. So that's what a strategic SEO-friendly website can do. On top of that are two really big blocks. One, Psych Today and directories. I know that a lot of clinicians are frustrated with Psych Today because they're not seeing results. And after reviewing hundreds of them, writing, I don't even know how many Psych Today profiles I've written, it's usually not because Psych Today doesn't work. It's usually because your profile needs some work. So that's a place for us to be marketing and growing your practice. The other block next to that is networking. while networking has certainly changed due to COVID, it's still incredibly important and still a very, very, very practical way for you to be getting your name out there and building your reputation and your awareness as far as the type of therapy that you offer and the type of therapist that you are. Now, on top of that is everything else, is Facebook and Instagram and blogging and podcasting and all of those types of things. That's on top, okay? And if you think about a structure, we want to build from the bottom up, right? Otherwise, if you just drop something on top and there's not a strong foundation, it's not going to end up standing. So I want you to go into your multi-state marketing and thinking about that with this understanding, is that we're still going to rely on the basic building blocks, all right? So the theme of being successful when it comes to marketing in multiple states is being as physically in that state as possible. Now, what do I mean by that? Obviously, you can only be in one place at once. You are going to be able to make the most of each of those building blocks if you are as present in that state as possible. What do I mean by that? My marketing suggestions for you when it comes to marketing in multiple states is, number one, updating your website to reflect these new areas. Now, you can do this in a lot of different ways. The most SEO friendly way that you're going to do this is most likely, and this definitely depends on the state that you're in, the niche that you're in, and that kind of thing. So there's some nuance to this, but at its most basic, you're going to want to create pages of your website that are focused on the new area that you're wanting to serve. Doing a little bit of keyword research will show you that chances are, and this has just been in my experience in my own research, potential clients are usually typing into Google something like therapy Nashville, therapy Knoxville. I live in Tennessee, if you can't tell. It's rare that they're typing in therapy in Tennessee. The reason for that is most clients don't really realize that it's state licensure that matters to clinicians, and so it's not as likely that someone is going to type in online therapy in Tennessee as much as they're going to type in anxiety therapist Nashville. So what would you like to show up for? Anxiety therapist Nashville, right? So one thing to consider when it comes to updating your website, in addition to just making sure that you make it clear that you operate in multiple states and can serve residents of both states, that there are probably individual pages of your website dedicated to likely the metropolitan cities in the state that you're operating in. Now, that could feel like a really big job, creating all of, especially if you're, becoming licensed in a place like Texas or Florida where there are a lot of cities, larger areas. That's something that you can chip away at. It's something that you don't, again, have to do to be successful. But when it comes to leveraging SEO, creating individual pages dedicated to those locations is probably going to be what serves you best when it comes to adding content to your website. I hope that makes sense. If as I'm talking through that you have some questions, like I said, don't hesitate to drop them into the comments. But the first tip I have for you is to create landing pages on your website dedicated to the new areas you want to be serving in the niche that you work in. You have to let Google know that you are available somewhere new, right? And that leads me to my second one, which is from an SEO perspective, I really, really strongly suggest that if you want to make the most of SEO, in multiple states, that you actually get a physical address in that new state. Now, why? Google cares. I don't care if you're only an online therapist. Google cares and sees you as more legitimate when you have a physical address associated with your service. So if you're just marketing locally and you don't yet have a physical address other than your home, I strongly suggest that you're going to want this to live in the footer of your website. You're going to want this to be a part of your Google My Business listing. If you want to leverage Google My Business, which again is a great SEO booster and a great marketing tool on its own, you must have multiple physical locations. So it's going to be really important, and again, this is something to consider, possibly an added cost, but something to really think about is creating a physical address. So having some sort of business address, perhaps. There are services out there now specifically for therapists where you can basically sublet an address where you can receive mail and that kind of thing. But that is going to increase your legitimacy in the eyes of Google. Also increase your legitimacy in the eyes of your clients if they see that you actually have a location. It doesn't matter where you're actually operating and providing therapy from, but it's only when you have a true physical address that is considered solid by Google and that kind of thing. So the first two tips, more around SEO, more around Google, would be creating individual landing pages on your website dedicated to your niche and the new areas you serve, and then establishing a physical address so that you can leverage it in places like Google My Business. You can add it to your website as an additional location. All of these are going to be votes of confidence in the eyes of Google, increasing your possibility of showing up in results when people go typing. Now, people find therapists in many other ways than just Google. And like we talked about, our marketing pyramid, we have strategic SEO friendly website, we have Psych Today, we have networking. How do we make the most of those two blocks? Now, Psychology Today unfortunately only allows 3 zip codes for you to target. And so you have a couple options there. One, you can make a practice of regularly changing those zip codes. Probably going to be a little bit of a slower process, but certainly an option where maybe you go in and you choose the 3 zip codes you want to target in this state, and then 2 weeks later you switch to this state. Now that means you're only marketing via Psych Today in one state at a time. So another option is to pay for and establish a separate Psych Today listing where you can be shown in that additional state. I have seen clinicians say that that's worth it. That's $30 a month for 12 months, right? So that's $360 a year. If you get a single client for 2 sessions, 3 sessions, you will hopefully be paying for that. So it's definitely worth exploring and experimenting. I'm a huge believer in experimenting with Psychology Today because it's a fairly low investment in order to figure out what works for you. So definitely consider that. Other directories, Therapy Den, if you upgrade to their paid or premium profile listing, you can be listed in multiple states. So whatever directory you're on, go look into what your options are as far as being multi-state, but Psych Today being the largest. I am an advocate of at least attempting to stand up an additional profile. If you're not getting results from your profile, check out the Psych Today topic here inside the group. You can figure out what's not working in your profile, what you need to change, and why it might not be bringing in the results that you want. Hopefully we want to get both of your profiles in the state you're in and your new state all performing well for you, so something to consider. So that's my third tip, is to create a new Psychology Today profile, or if you're not able to make that $30 a month investment right now, make a regular practice of jumping in there and changing your zip codes so you can see, okay, what's performing best both in the state I'm in currently and the new state that I'm licensed in. The last marketing tip I'm going to leave you with is that other block, right, of the private practice marketing pyramid. It's networking. You have to be as physically in that state as possible, and one of the best ways to do that is to get connected locally. Chances are there are Facebook groups dedicated to the new area, state, metropolitan area, whatever that you want to be focusing in. Join those, get involved, get your name out there. If you joined my training last week, which was way more of just an amazing, inspiring interview than anything, with Audrey, who's an LMFT in California, she talked about how she has effectively built her practice in part by just showing up in Facebook groups and becoming a name that people are familiar with. Go do that in the new area that you're in. While there are challenges associated with creating connections in person due to COVID, it's also made making those online connections a lot more natural. So get in there, get involved, ask to join those groups, and become as much a part of that community as you are currently in your current areas, right? We want people to get to know you and build awareness for you and the work you do elsewhere as much as you're doing that here. So my 4 marketing tips, the 4 things that you can actually tangibly do as you're preparing to market or as you want to start marketing in new states is, number 1, create and update your website to reflect that. Create individual landing pages dedicated to what people are searching for in the new state that you're licensed in. Create a physical address so that you can really leverage Google My Business and increase your legitimacy in the eyes of Google when it comes to your presence in that new state. Pay for or make a practice of making sure that you're appearing in multiple states via Psych Today and other directories, and then join local Facebook groups. Get as connected as possible to the local networks in the new location that you're looking to to become established in. So those are my tips for you. Now, the thing that I want you to take away from this, I understand if that list feels a little bit daunting, start with the small ones, probably maybe set up a new Psychology Today profile. That might be a good place to start. Start joining a couple Facebook groups. Don't feel like you have to do all of that at once. Keeping in mind that SEO is a long-term investment, so something that if you're planning ahead, making that investment now, you'll start to see those results come in over time. But what I also want you to understand is that even the most successful multi-state practitioners that I have worked with as clients, they usually get all of their clients within like a 10-mile radius. So I really don't encourage you, if your marketing is struggling locally, to get licensed in another state as a way of hopefully building your practice. Because whatever marketing you're doing and the results you're getting locally are going to be even more difficult to get elsewhere. So if you have really, really successful marketing where you're at, chances are we can have pretty successful marketing in other states. If right now you're trying to grow your practice and your results aren't coming in, I just encourage you not to rely on increasing the number of potential clients by being licensed elsewhere as a way to improve that, and instead invest in your local marketing, invest in your local networking, in establishing your reputation locally, in improving your website before going through the whole process of being licensed elsewhere. I want you to be able to take something that's working and replicate it, as opposed to having to manage marketing basically in two different places and hope that something works. So that's something I really want to encourage you on, is that you may have gotten licensed. I put out a question yesterday. You get licensed in multiple states for many different reasons. Your clients moved. You live on a state line. You're moving. All those kinds of things. Those are great, perfect reasons to get licensed in multiple states, and it absolutely does present opportunity to you. But just make sure that you're not relying on that and that alone to grow your practice. Chances are you're still going to find people locally, so still invest in building your reputation locally, in building awareness locally, and then replicate that as best you can in a brand new state, because it's possible. You can absolutely see clients from multiple states and be successful, but only when you have those fundamental building blocks in place and you're making the most of them regardless of where you live. So I've been flying through this. I hope that this has been helpful for you. Let me just check and see if we've had any comments come through here. So Robin, does this apply if you were only an out-of-state telehealth provider and not actually licensed? So Robin, are you through something like SciPact? Really, this advice that I'm offering you is anytime you're trying to get clients across state lines, or quite frankly, outside of your local area. Even if you are switching from being a Nashville therapist to wanting to reach the entire state of Tennessee, you can still use most of this advice, keeping in mind that chances are you're still going to get most of your clients around Nashville. I hope that helps, Robin. Let me know if you have additional questions there. That was the only question I saw come in. Shala and Robin, other folks that are here live, thank you so much for being here. I hope that this is helpful for you and giving you something to think about, giving you some actionable items you can take, but also just a reminder that marketing doesn't have to be hard. And that if you invest in getting all of those core building blocks in place locally, hopefully you'll start to see results that going multi-state can just augment, as opposed to relying on it to be kind of a saving grace or a Hail Mary. I don't want that for you. I don't want that to result in frustration. So invest in what you're doing now, invest in the basics, do those with excellence, and you will see results, because I see it happen time and time again. So friends, thank you so much for being here, for sharing part of your Friday afternoon with me. If you have questions as you're watching this in replay, like I mentioned, please don't hesitate to drop them in. I would love to hear what you're thinking when it comes to being multi-state. I'm wishing you much success and a wonderful weekend. I'll see you soon.